Pricing strategies in agriculture. Pricing is a fundamental component of marketing strategy and one of the most critical decisions for agricultural producers. It determines not only the financial viability of an enterprise, but also how a product is perceived in the marketplace. Agricultural pricing strategies must account for a wide range of variables, including production costs, market demand, consumer preferences, competitive positioning, and the specific characteristics of the product itself, such as perishability, seasonality, and differentiation. In agricultural contexts, pricing decisions are further influenced by externalities such as subsidies, market interventions, and fluctuations in global commodity prices. Therefore, a nuanced understanding of pricing approaches, ranging from traditional cost-plus models to more dynamic value-based frameworks, is essential. This chapter introduces key pricing methodologies and examines how they are applied in different agri-food scenarios, emphasizing the interplay between cost structures, perceived value, and marketing channels. Pricing models in agriculture typically fall into three main categories: cost-based pricing, value-based pricing, and competition-based pricing. Each model serves different strategic purposes and reflects varying degrees of market orientation. Selecting the appropriate pricing strategy is critical for ensuring economic sustainability, aligning with consumer expectations, and maintaining competitiveness in increasingly diverse and fragmented agri-food markets. Cost-based pricing relies on calculating the total cost of production, including fixed and variable expenses, and adding a desired profit margin. This approach is often favored by small-scale or traditional producers due to its simplicity and transparency. However, it may overlook external market dynamics such as consumer willingness to pay or competitor pricing, making it less responsive to demand-side conditions. Value-based pricing, on the other hand, centers on the perceived value of the product from the consumer's perspective. It takes into account attributes such as product quality, origin, ethical production methods, and branding. This model is particularly relevant for differentiated agricultural products such as organic produce, PDO-labeled items, or artisanal foods, where emotional and cultural factors significantly influence purchasing decisions. By aligning price with perceived value, producers can command premium prices and foster consumer loyalty. Competition-based pricing benchmarks against similar products in the marketplace. This model is especially common in commodity sectors or highly saturated retail environments where producers have limited pricing power. While this strategy may help maintain market share, it risks initiating price wars or eroding profit margins unless accompanied by efficiency gains or unique value propositions. In practice, many producers adopt hybrid approaches that combine elements from all three models, adjusting strategies based on market feedback, seasonal trends, and distribution channels. The ability to shift between models or integrate them into a coherent pricing strategy is a key competency for modern agricultural entrepreneurs. Cost-based pricing begins with the systematic calculation of all production and operational expenses, including inputs, e.g., seeds, feed, fertilizers, labor, energy, equipment depreciation, storage, transportation, and marketing costs. Once the total cost is determined, a fixed or percentage-based profit margin is added to establish the final selling price. This method is particularly appealing to agricultural producers because of its simplicity, clarity, and perceived fairness. It ensures that no aspect of the production process is priced below cost, thereby safeguarding economic viability. Kotler et al. 2017. However, the model's internal focus on cost structures often results in limited responsiveness to external market forces. Because cost-based pricing does not incorporate factors such as consumer preferences, elasticity of demand, or competitor actions, it can lead to overpricing or underpricing in dynamic market environments. For instance, during periods of oversupply, a product priced solely on cost may fail to attract buyers, while in high-demand contexts, the same product might be undervalued, missing out on potential profit margins. Cost-based pricing is most commonly used by small-scale or traditional farmers, cooperatives, or producer groups operating in low competition or regulated markets. These actors may lack access to real-time market intelligence or advanced pricing tools or marketing support services that would enable more nuanced pricing decisions. Nevertheless, when applied in a disciplined and transparent manner, cost-based pricing can foster trust among buyers, especially in local and direct marketing contexts, while laying the groundwork for financial sustainability. Value-based pricing departs from internal production costs and instead aligns pricing with the perceived value of a product as judged by the target consumer. This approach requires a deep understanding of consumer preferences, brand positioning, market segmentation, and the intangible benefits associated with the product. In agriculture, value-based pricing is particularly relevant for differentiated products such as organic vegetables, artisan cheeses, local specialties, or those carrying geographical indications like PDO and PGI labels. These products often appeal to consumers for reasons beyond basic nutrition, such as authenticity, sustainability, ethical practices, or sensory uniqueness. Kotler et al. The core strength of value-based pricing lies in its ability to capture a price premium by aligning product attributes with what consumers are willing to pay. For example, a consumer might be willing to pay significantly more for honey harvested from wildflowers in a protected nature reserve than for mass-produced alternatives. This is not because the cost of production is necessarily higher, but because the story, values, and quality associated with the product elevate its perceived worth. Implementing value-based pricing effectively requires producers to conduct market research, engage in brand-building activities, and communicate the product's distinctiveness through It often involves investments in storytelling, packaging, certifications, and consumer education. While this approach demands more marketing sophistication and may entail higher initial costs, it enables small and medium-sized agribusinesses to escape price competition and build customer loyalty. Moreover, it resonates well with broader consumer trends toward transparency, provenance, and values-driven consumption. Tregear, 2003. Competition-based pricing, also known as market-based pricing, sets the price of a product primarily by referencing the prices of similar offerings in the market. Rather than starting from internal cost structures or perceived consumer value, this strategy positions the product relative to competitors, aiming to remain competitive within a particular market segment. Kotler et al., 2017. This model is particularly common in highly commoditized agricultural sectors such as cereals, milk, or standard-grade vegetables, where producers face limited scope for differentiation and prices are largely determined by supply and demand dynamics or prevailing market rates. In practice, competition-based pricing can be employed in several ways. A producer might choose to match competitor prices to remain on par, set a lower price to attract price-sensitive buyers, or price slightly above competitors if the product offers added values such as freshness, packaging, or customer service. The approach provides a degree of market realism, especially for producers who lack bargaining power or brand recognition. However, it also carries significant risks. Competing solely on price can erode margins and lead to a race to the bottom, particularly when dealing with powerful intermediaries such as supermarkets or wholesalers. Ilberry and May, 2005. Furthermore, competition-based pricing requires continuous market monitoring and responsiveness to price changes, promotions, and new entrants. For small-scale or artisanal producers, competing directly with industrial players on price may be unsustainable, reinforcing the importance of coupling this model with differentiation strategies. In this sense, competition-based pricing can serve as a benchmark or starting point rather than a comprehensive pricing solution. While it offers short-term tactical value in entering markets or clearing excess inventory, long-term reliance on competitive pricing without brand development may hinder a business's ability to build consumer loyalty, innovate, or improve product quality. Pricing in agriculture is not merely a financial decision. It is also a powerful tool for shaping consumer perceptions and market positioning. The perceived value of a product refers to the worth that consumers assign to it, based on subjective factors such as quality, origin, ethical production, brand reputation, and emotional appeal. Price, therefore, becomes a signal that communicates this perceived value, influencing both purchase decisions and brand positioning. Kotler et al., 2017, Zeit Hamel, 1988. In agri-food markets, especially those catering to niche or premium segments, consumers do not always choose the cheapest option. Instead, they weigh the price against the perceived benefits. A higher price can indicate superior quality, artisanal production, environmental sustainability, or cultural authenticity. For example, Consumers may be willing to pay more for organic vegetables certified under EU regulation or for PDO products such as feta or prosciutto di Parma that carry a legacy of tradition and geographic specificity, European Commission 2021. From a strategic standpoint, managing perceived value is essential for agricultural producers, seeking to differentiate their offerings and justify premium prices. This involves aligning marketing messages, packaging, certifications, and storytelling with consumer expectations and values. Producers who effectively build perceived value can maintain pricing power even in saturated markets, reduce price elasticity of demand, and foster brand loyalty. Tregear 2003, Barham 2003. However, it is important to note that perceived value is context-dependent and varies across consumer segments. Urban consumers may value convenience and ethical sourcing, while rural buyers might prioritize freshness and cost. In international markets, cultural associations, taste preferences, and regulatory standards further shape how value is perceived. Therefore, pricing strategies must be adapted to the target audience, channel, and communication context to ensure alignment between price and consumer expectations. Effective pricing in agricultural marketing requires strategic adaptation to both the distribution channel and the characteristics of the target audience. While foundational pricing models, such as cost-based, value-based, and competition-based, provide a baseline, the real-world application must be tailored to account for market dynamics, consumer preferences, and channel-specific costs and benefits. Kotler et al. 2017, Feo 2019. Different marketing channels, such as direct-to-consumer sales, retail distribution, and food service partnerships, entail varying degrees of control over pricing, branding, and margins. For instance, selling through farmers' markets or community-supported agriculture (CSA) schemes allows producers to retain more control over pricing and customer engagement. In contrast, selling through large retailers or distributors often involves price standardization, negotiation, and the inclusion of intermediary margins. Ilbery and Mae, 2005. As such, the price point must be adjusted to reflect the operational realities and cost structures of each channel. Audience segmentation further influences pricing strategy. A premium value-driven price may be effective when targeting affluent urban consumers or health-conscious buyers who value organic or artisanal attributes. These segments tend to associate higher prices with higher quality and ethical production. Tregear, 2003. Conversely, budget-conscious or price-sensitive consumers, such as students or low-income households, may require a value-for-money approach that emphasizes affordability, quantity, and basic nutritional value. In addition to demographics, psychographic variables such as environmental concern, cultural affiliation, and lifestyle preferences should inform pricing decisions. For example, agrotourism visitors may be more inclined to purchase specialty goods at a higher price point due to the immersive experience and perceived authenticity. In such contexts, bundling products with experiences, such as wine tastings or farm tours, can enhance perceived value and justify premium pricing. Ultimately, adaptive pricing is about achieving congruence between product attributes, channel constraints, and audience expectations. Producers who analyze their market positioning, buyer personas, and channel economics are better equipped to set prices that are both competitive and sustainable. Strategic adaptation not only improves profitability, but also strengthens market fit and long-term customer relationships. Sikirstein 6.4 case example, honey pricing for supermarkets versus agrotourism. A small-scale honey producer in Cyprus markets its product through two primary channels, local supermarkets and on-site sales to agrotourism visitors. For supermarket sales, the honey is priced competitively at $5.90 per jar to align with shelf comparables and accommodate distributor margins. Labeling emphasizes basic attributes such as purity and origin. In contrast, the same honey is sold directly at $8.50 per jar at the agrotourism site, where consumers are immersed in the production narrative, interact with beekeepers, and experience the rural environment. The packaging features storytelling elements, including historical bee symbolism and environmental stewardship. This dual pricing strategy reflects not only channel cost structures, but also differing perceptions of value. The agrotourism setting enhances product authenticity and emotional connection, allowing for a price premium. The case illustrates how strategic pricing differentiation can enhance profitability and consumer satisfaction in diversified marketing approaches. This case study examines how a small-scale honey producer in rural Cyprus applies differentiated pricing strategies across two distinct marketing channels: regional supermarkets and agro-tourism outlets. It illustrates how pricing can reflect not only cost structures and market access, but also perceived value, consumer experience, and branding. In the supermarket channel, the honey is positioned as a high-quality yet competitively priced everyday product. The producer sells to a distributor at a wholesale price, who in turn supplies regional supermarkets where the honey is priced at $5.90 per 350 g jar. This pricing takes into account distributor margins, packaging costs, and shelf placement fees. The label emphasizes product purity, regional origin, e.g. Mountain Thyme Honey Troodos range, and compliance with food safety standards, but remains conservative in design to maintain mass market appeal. The strategy in this channel is volume-oriented and focused on consistency, quality assurance, and price sensitivity typical of grocery retail customers. Ilbery and May, 2005.
By contrast, in the agro-tourism context, the same honey is priced at $8.50 per jar and sold directly to visitors at the farm shop or through local ecotourism networks. Here, the product is not merely consumed, but experienced. Visitors often engage in guided tours of the apiary, taste the honey on site, and learn about traditional beekeeping practices, biodiversity, and the ecological value of native flora. The packaging includes handwritten batch numbers, local folk motifs, and QR codes linking to videos and stories about the production process. In this setting, the price reflects more than the physical product. It encapsulates the experience, authenticity, and emotional resonance of place-based consumption. Tregear, 2003. The producer's ability to command a higher price in the agro-tourism channel stems from a value-based pricing strategy. Customers are less price-sensitive because the purchase is embedded in an experiential and ethical context. Moreover, direct-to-consumer sales eliminate intermediary costs, allowing for higher margins. This approach supports brand differentiation, consumer education, and repeat purchasing through emotional and cultural engagement. Kotler and Keller, 2016.
This dual-channel pricing strategy illustrates several key takeaways. Pricing should reflect both channel-specific costs and consumer expectations. Perceived authenticity and experiential value can significantly enhance willingness to pay. Producers can use narrative branding and personal interaction to justify premium pricing in direct channels. Diversifying sales channels provides revenue stability and market flexibility. By tailoring its pricing model to suit each channel and audience, the honey producer maximizes both reach and profitability, demonstrating the effectiveness of an integrated, consumer-oriented pricing strategy in rural agri-marketing.